You're not playing fair.
Shut up!
This war we're deep within. I can't go through it alone, and I won't leave you on your own. I stand before you now and promise you I am not afraid. I will fight and guide the way. We will rise again to glory then, soar into the sky. If you stop and see, then you just might believe.
Sup guys, the name's Rena Dragneel and welcome back to Seduce Me to the Demon War. So last we left off, we went back with Diana, but her family was slaughtered brutally, and I'm sad. I'm really sad. But then we meet Settle and jealousy all over the place, and I feel so guilty right now. But anyways, we got into battle with the Demon Lord, many battles, but we fought him back far away, and now Diana's doing a ritual for a brute demon sergeant. Yeah. Anyways, let's continue. I don't know if I read this, but still. Diana was dressed in some sort of dancer garb with purple paint over her already tainted skin, shaping symbols around her body. In her hands were two large sabers, glowing in the sunlight. She was absolutely stunning. Diana stepped between the crowd as they parted ways for her and into a chalk-drawn circle which separated the ritual area and the ones watching it. Her bare feet guided her to the center as a couple of other demons, each holding an instrument, set up near the edge away from where I was. At last, the air was filled with complete silence. The look on Diana's face showed pure concentration and focus as she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The drums echoed through the air as the dance finally began. I stared, mesmerized by what I was watching. Diana's entire body moved in time with the beat and instruments floating through the air. The sabers she was holding glided through the air as if they were slicing through it with perfect ease. As the beat moved, her hips and shoulders rolled fiercely, like a hypnotic and passionate belly dance routine mixed with an African tribal step. However, her focus remained on the sabers in her hand and the circle she was instructed to dance within. Her bare feet hit the ground hard, with her heels jutting into the dirt, not hard enough to disturb the soil, but loud enough to echo alongside the drum beat. My breath was taken away by the sight. However, I wasn't the only one blown away by the dancing succubus.
She's beautiful, isn't she?
She is, Settle, she is. I didn't turn my head away, but I could tell that Settle had stepped up to stand beside me and watch Diana dance. The two of us stood side by side, watching the person we both cared about give homage to an extinct demon race. Settle's voice was barely audible over the sound of the drums and chants in the air.
To accept this role is a great honor for her.
Really? Why? I felt my curiosity surface to his statement. Was this dance truly an honor? This was meant to honor the death of thousands of brute demons. How is this an honor?
Brute demons are extremely devoted to proper ceremony and homage. Because of this, the role of rage dancer is often given to the most powerful and the most honorable brute demon in the tribe where they perform the sending.
But Diana is not a brute demon. Why not have the brute demon himself perform it? Because he's gonna look hilarious as hell dancing.
Because the brute demon recognizes her strength. He knows how powerful she is, so he asked her to perform it in his stead.
Ah, okay. A oh. A small laugh escaped Sero's lips, causing me to glance over slightly before returning to watch the dance. What's so funny?
I apologize. Imagining that brute demon dance is rather humorous to think about.
He had the same thought as me. Oh my god, it's pretty funny, to be honest. As the thought popped into my head, I couldn't help but giggle a bit as well. Sarah and I shared a laugh before letting it die quietly so we could continue to watch Diana, the true dancer of the evening.
I love her.
That stopped my thoughts. I'm pretty sure that's obvious that you love her, okay? Okay. I looked over to Sarah, seeing his gaze still plastered towards Diana. His expression was cool and like stone, serious in what he had said and meant. He loved her?
I've loved her ever since we were children. I've been by her side through everything, and she's given meaning to my life. I would give my life for her if she demanded it.
At last, Zero looked to me, a small fire burning in his eyes through his gaze. I could see the devotion and truth in his soul, knowing how deeply he cared for Diana.
What say you to that?
She loves me, what I say doesn't matter. I love her too. She loves me. That's an immediate no. What I say doesn't matter. I'm just gonna say I love her too. Sarah was serious about his affections. So was I. Sarah stared wide-eyed as I smiled and nodded to him, understanding his feelings. I feel happy when I'm with her. She's taught me so much during the time we spent together about demons and the 5 worlds. I can still hardly believe it all exists at once. I looked back to Diana, seeing her continue her dance with a concentrated expression. The more I thought of her, the happier I felt myself becoming. I thought of all she had done. While what she did was a tragedy, it was in desperation. She had no choice. I understood that and knew eventually that, without that act, I never would have learned about this world or magic at all. Before I met her, my life was boring and bland. I went to school and was only allowed to think about my future. When Diane appeared, she changed my life. She showed me an entire universe that I will never be able to thank her enough for that. He's speechless again. Okay. I know you've been with her for a very long time. But she's important to me, but I understand your feelings for her perfectly, but she's mine. I mean, I would be that possessive kind of girlfriend. Not possessive, but clingy and whatnot. But nah, I'm not gonna say that. But she is important to me, but I understand your feelings for her perfectly. I don't know. Both of them seem... Dang. But she's important to me. I'm just gonna say, but she's important to me. Sarah needed to see her importance to me. I desperately loved her and wanted to be with her. That was why I came in the first place. I wouldn't let Sarah's love for her sway my feelings for her. I was given silence as Sarah's reply. Diana's dance continued into the night, surprising me. She had this much stamina? Despite watching her, she didn't stop to break once, most likely expending energy to keep moving. How long did the dance have to go for? As the torchlights illuminated the space and the moon was at the top of the sky, Diana finally stopped, panting hard and clashing the sabers together to cause a ring of steel to bounce through the air. The audience clapped wildly, many deeply captivated enough to stay the entire time as soon as some joined in during the later hours of the ritual. Shit, I just thought I should have saved with my choices. Yeah, I'm gonna save right now, actually. I'll save here. Oh, yes, I'm sure. Let's go back. I'll go back some other time, maybe. The brute, whom I decided to dub as Sergeant, stepped from the crowd into the ritual space and walked towards Diana. Letting the sabers vanish into the air, Diana looked to the one approaching her with a tired stare. Silence lingered between them as Sergeant held out his arms to Diana. With a smile, Diana reached out and clasped her arm onto his forearm.
Honorimus dirigendo pedes.
Victoria in consummatione.
Another round of cheers echoed through the air at the words exchanged between them. I smiled, knowing that Diana had appeased Sergeant and his people. Diana released her hold on his hand and nodded to him before looking towards me and ushering me to her. I quickly rushed over her as she lifted her arm and placed it along my shoulders tiredly. Diana?
I need a little help.
I could feel Sarah's gaze on my back. Would he step in and fight me doing as she asked? I looked back to see him watching with a blank expression. What was going on in his mind? With a laugh to Diana, I led her back to my room, where she sat tiredly on the bed. The exhaustion in her face was clear, and her body quaked from overexerting itself. You danced so beautifully, Diana. With a smile, Diana looked up at me and blushed a bit. To see her face go a slight pink made her look so adorable.
You flatter me, dear.
I could only smile before she slowly stood back up and took my hand, surprising me. She kept her head down, however, which made me even more confused as to what she was doing. Diana?
Dear, I'm sorry.
Huh? For what? Diana grimaced a bit before looking up at me with serious eyes. They flicked back and forth between red and gold, but she stood her ground.
For the intolerance from my kind. Humans aren't exactly welcomed in this world.
Don't mention it. Get kinda hate from humans anyway, so it don't matter to me. That's what this was about. I understood completely, but it seemed to hit Diana the hardest. After all, she was the one who brought me to this world. I cupped Diana's cheek and smiled at her, causing her expression to go from shame to surprise. Diana, it's alright. I don't care about I love you. I gotta say it, yo. I love you. Diana hitched her breath. It was true, though. I had grown to love her for everything she had done. She was brave, powerful, beautiful. Everything I desired in a person. My heart beat wildly for her, and I could only pray that she understood my feelings. Diana looked onto our hands, her eyes watering a bit. I instinctively wiped her eyes a bit with my fingers, now concerned. Diana?
I don't know what love is.
I was about to break into song. Dang. Okay. I stared dumbfounded. She didn't know what love was? However, she surprised me by placing a gentle, shaking hand on my cheek, leaning in.
But I'm willing to learn, if it's with you.
Yay! I'm happy. I gasped slightly, seeing the earnest and care in her eyes before she closed them and gently planted a kiss on my cheek. A soft shudder ran down my spine as I felt her soft lips pressed against my skin. Kiss her, let's kiss her, because we haven't done that at all on our own, really. Like actual passionate kiss. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to kiss her. I pulled... Oh, Jesus Christ, not the sexy music! Might as well give a little warning if you guys do not like this lesbian shit. I warn you now, skip it if you don't like the lesbian shit that's going to happen. Still here with me? Alright then. Let's continue then. I pulled Diana close and wrapped my arms around her neck, capturing her lips with my own. She gasped, surprised at my sudden eagerness, but slowly began to melt into the kiss between us. Her lips were as heavenly as the night I first tasted them. Her arms gently wrapped themselves around my waist, pulling me close to her body. The jangle of her brute dancer garb echoed in the room, making me smile slightly at the surprised noise. I had nearly forgotten that she was still in her dancer outfit. On their own, my fingers slowly danced down Diana's shoulders and traced over the seams of her outfit, making her body shudder ever so slightly. Was she enjoying a mere touch that much? Or was she hungry for energy? I pulled away slightly, seeing her eyes dance between red and gold, some control trying to be maintained within her gaze on me. She was out of energy, and she needed more than just a kiss. For now, I would take it slow. I leaned back in and kissed her again, this time biting her lower lip and enticing her to let go of the control she had. I wanted her to relax and for me to be the one to comfort her and hold her against me. Maybe it was because of the call her succubus body had on me, or maybe it was because my heart desired to be with her that much. I didn't care, but I obeyed the command of my heart to drive her to the pleasure we both craved. The night would be for us, and the warmth of the afterglow would be exquisite. Diana released an almost carnal moan against my lips and tightened her grip on my waist, almost slamming my body against hers. My plan was working, and she was falling for my temptations. I couldn't help the smirk that painted itself across my face at the gesture. In return, I quickly rushed my hands up Diana's body and combed my fingers into her hair before gripping her horns. Oh shit. Michaela has no shame. That's okay. I respect her for that anyway. To my surprise, Diana released a moan against my lips, causing me to pull away and stare into Diana's surprised eyes. A blush ran across her cheeks, but her gaze melted into one of lust and desire as I held her horns in my grasp. Were her horns her weak spot? I gripped them harder. I was right. I pulled Diana closer to me with her horns and almost slammed my lips into hers, wanting to devour the moans she was releasing. I felt myself become more passionate in the kiss between us, needing to feel more of her. Diana dug her nails into my hips and practically pushed me onto the bed behind me, causing us to bounce on the mattress. I reflectively released her horns and felt my hands fall back on either side of me as Diana smirked down at my form.
You're not playing fair.
Shut up! I felt a small warmth ignite in my core, pleading with me to ravish her again, but I felt myself become lost in her dominant gaze over me. I felt the clothing on my body become uncomfortable, and I wanted to take it all off beneath her, but I remained locked in her sight. Diana ran a hand along my cheek and traced a finger down my body, slowing its dance over each curve it found lovingly and sending shivers up my spine. Look who's talking! Diana chuckled before leaning in nose to nose with me.
Let me make you feel good.
Damn, okay. At last, Diana became the one who initiated our kiss, her hands pressing down on my waist to pin me to the bed beneath us. I wrapped my legs around her waist, pulling her to me and causing a chuckle to echo from between our lips. As her hands began to comb over my skin and took my shirt off of my body, I felt her pull away to strip it off of me. It was tossed to the side to be forgotten, for our focus remained on each other. I felt myself turn red at what we were slowly diving into, taking in the fact that I had initiated a dance with the succubus I had grown to love. It was unfair that she was in control, but it was only natural. I had barely noticed the garb over Diana's body disappearing, leaving her bare over me. Despite the purple taint over her skin covering her essentials, I could tell that she was still very much nude just from the heat between us. Diana's kisses trailed down my cheek and neck, nipping over my skin and making the warmth within my core burn even hotter in need. Every kiss and touch she placed on me made my mind spin and dance in endless waves of soft euphoria. Euphoria. I knew that this wasn't her first time being intimate, but I could tell that every touch she made she only did for me and my own pleasure. She surely indeed intended to make me feel good. I became like putty in her hands, my own eventually resting above my head as I let her strip me bare and massage over every inch of my body. She didn't just kiss over me, she made every muscle in my body obey her with her fingers and palms. Even as her tongue licked over my most delicate spots, she took great care in watching my reactions and listening to my moans, working her way into my mind, body, and soul to tie them all together in a heated frenzy of lust and desire. This was truly the work of a master succubus, and I was able to call her mine. Even as my cries echoed through the room, she didn't stop until I was floating on cloud 9. Her pleasure came from my moans and multiple releases, filling herself with my energy and devouring the pleasure we shared hungrily and lovingly. I was in heaven in a succubus's embrace. I barely could register her arms around my form as she held me close to her and kissed over my hair.
My sweet love, I will hold you close for as long as I can.
My heart beats, okay. And I will be with you forever. My heart fluttered at the feelings ebbing within my chest. I was happy and I would keep this happiness close to me for as long as I lived. I awoke after a peaceful sleep, staring up at Diana as she leaned back against the bedpost, reading a book I didn't recognize. As I started to shift, Diana looked down at me and grew a loving smile.
Good morning, dear. Ready for today?
Despite feeling the tired effects of the morning, I nodded with a smile of my own. I could tell that today was going to be a good day. Diana closed her book and placed it on the table beside the bed before standing, stretching her body. However, mid-stretch, Diana froze. In fact, the entire room became frozen, as if time itself had stopped. Huh? Diana? I felt myself move freely, despite the air around me being still. I stood from the bed and walked around to Diana, seeing her frozen like a statue. What was going on?
Human.
Oh. Hi, Sarah. We totally didn't do anything last night. Just if you're implying that we were. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't do anything last night, just saying. My heart froze as I looked to see Sarah by the corner of the room, arms crossed and stare cold as ice. What was he doing? Sarah? What are you?
Come with me.
Okay. Without another word, Sarah left the room into the hall. I was massively confused, but followed, now worried what would happen if I didn't. As we walked down the hall, I was stunned to see every person in the castle frozen in time. How was this possible? How was Sarah doing this? Sarah was silent the entire walk. Eventually, we walked to the gold set of doors which led into the chamber her family was killed. I hesitated, staring warily at Sarah before seeing him open the chamber. To my surprise, the room changed from a nursery room full of blood to a view of an outdoor space. As far as I could see were trees and plant life, bustling and full of life. What the hell? Sarah stepped in and waited at the door, ushering me inside. I followed, despite every nerve in my body yelling at me to just run back. I had to see this through, whatever this was. Sarah led me into the forest of trees, making sure I was able to see him the entire time, until we reached a patch of land with a singular large tree, covered in pink and purple petals. Whoa. I found myself becoming entranced at the sight. What was this place? Why was it here? As I examined the tree, I noticed the major abundance of fruits in the branches. I smiled, knowing exactly what they were. Sweet flowers.
You know of them?
I nodded. Diana gave me a slice of one in the human world. They're the best thing I ever tasted. I could faintly remember the taste of it. It was perfectly sweet and moist. I was so full of energy after that day, I was hardly able to keep it all in. Sarah let out a chuckle, drawing my attention.
I was barely walking when I had my first taste. My lady climbed the tree and picked it herself before splitting it open down the middle and giving me one of the halves.
I smiled slightly. Oh, shoot, go back. I slightly smiled, imagining a young Diana and Sarah doing such a thing. As my gaze wandered to the tree, I spotted the crowns of Diana's parents and sister at the base, making me frown a bit. At the sight, Sarah let out a small sigh.
Tell me honestly, do you truly believe you can make her happy?
Yes? I looked up at Zero, surprised at the question. His face was stern and serious as he gripped to his spear, in a white-knuckle grip. Why was he asking such a question? With a nod, I took in a breath and stood up straight. I do. I know you love her too. I want to be the one to make her happy. Okay, so this is where the choice comes in. Let me just save here. I know you love her too. I want to be the one to make her happy. Okay, so this is the choice where two true endings are. So the first one I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pick I want to be the one to make her happy, and then in another video I'll show the other ending, the other true ending. So I'm gonna choose this choice, and then in the next video I'll choose the other choice, and I know you love her too, because they're both happy endings anyway. So I want to be the one to make her happy. I truly loved her and wanted to be with her for the rest of my life. I knew that Sarah had been with her his entire life, but I couldn't stop what I was feeling for her sake. Zero stared hard at me, taking in what I was saying before raising his spear, pointing it at me.
You truly love her?
I do. I'm sorry if that upsets you. I'm so glad that I just said sorry and, not be mean about it. A moment passed. What would Zero do? I prayed that he wouldn't strike me down. I hoped that he was willing to listen and compromise. A small chuckle escaped Zero's lips, causing me to look at him in confusion. His face painted his concern and his strange thoughts on this almost humorous situation. As he lowered his spear, he shook his head.
It doesn't upset me. I just want Azayr to be happy.
As do I. Zero locked eyes with me, gazing into my soul to judge my words for their truth. I was being honest, and truly, to know that both of us cared about and loved Diana was amazing to fathom. Eventually, Zero smiled slightly, despite his heart breaking beneath his eyes. Oh, Zero, no! Come on, I need to give you a hug. I'm so sorry. You have no idea how guilty I feel about this. I feel entirely guilty.
Then, you should continue being at her side.
This breaks my heart because I ship Sarah and Diana so much. I was astonished. Sarah was giving me his blessing? I wasn't sure what to say. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing was able to come out from the sheer shock I was in. Settle, however, chuckled quietly, holding his forehead.
How pathetic am I? I was ready when Diana went off to marry her betrothed, but I'm nowhere near ready for this.
Oh, dear. Let me hug you. I'm so sorry. Guilt consuming me. I can't do this. Oh my god. This is too much guilt. I couldn't help but frown. Seto deeply loved Diana, and I felt terrible having to be the one to break his heart. See? I feel so terrible. Still, I couldn't lie to myself about this. I would have been in the same position if Seto had took her away from me. I took a breath, trying to be strong. I'm sorry. I promise, though, that I will protect and love her for the rest of my life. With a grimace, Zero looked at me once more, judging my truth. When he found no deceit, he nodded and took a shaky breath. For the first time since we had met, it was the first time I saw him give up.
What is going on?
Oh! Hi, Diana! Zero and I suddenly looked to the direction of Diana's voice, seeing her completely red in the face in anger. As she walked forward, Seto bowed his head in submission.
My lady, I
asked Seto if we could talk in private. Diana stopped walking and stared at me with the most confused look I had ever seen. I giggled a bit before stepping to her and taking her hand. I wanted to ask him if it was okay to be with you. He's part of your family, after all. Seto looked up at me in shock, but not in an unpleasant way. He seemed more surprised that I was covering for him, if anything. I got your back, Zero. Don't worry. It's the least I can do for taking Diana away from you. I'm gonna go sob in a corner. Diana looked to Seto, seeing his expression before looking to me in mild curiosity.
You asked him if you could be with me?
I nodded, pulling her to me slightly. As I softly said her real name, she slightly gasped in shock. Azayr, I love you and I want to be with you forever. I know that I'm just a human, but I want to be by your side and love you for the rest of my days. Diana was completely speechless. She stared deep into my gaze, both in shock and in utter amazement. I, however, stood my ground. My heart was in the air, hoping it wouldn't come crashing down. As Diana smiled, however, it began to swell. Diana gently held my cheek and caressed it lovingly.
I would be honored to call you mine, my heart.
Ah! I couldn't stop myself from crying. My chest became overwhelmed by emotions of love that I almost couldn't contain myself. Seto stood and smiled at the both of us, causing us to look over. Diana's hand squeezed over mine as she looked apologetically at her guard.
Zero,
It's all right, my lady. All I have ever wanted was your happiness.
Aww. The fact that he puts her happiness over his just makes me... Seto, you're just like me. I swear, I would do anything for the one I love and just make them happy before... I would let their happiness come first before mine. Kind of like with the whole Damien situation. Seto walked over and gently leaned over, kissing Diana's cheek before stepping back.
I will serve you and protect your love for as long as I live.
Diana choked a sob, covering her mouth as tears gently began to flow from her eyes. Settle only smiled and walked around us towards where the castle was, leaving us together. We watched him go before turning to each other. I wiped away Diana's tears as she slowly tried to calm down. Despite it being futile, I chuckled a bit at the sight. I love you, Azair. Diana took a breath, trying to regain herself, before pulling me to her, and wrapping her arms around me.
I love you too.
I leaned up and captured her lips in mine, earning a sweet kiss back. As our lips touched, the wind around us picked up, causing the leaves on the tree above us to sway. Pink and purple leaves that had fallen from the branches flew up and danced around us ecstatically, as if the world was giving us its blessing. I was more than happy to be with this woman, and I vowed to give her everything as she would do the same for me. We were completely happy. The energy that sparked within Diana completely filled her with power, giving her the strength to completely annihilate the Demon Lord's army almost single-handedly. What many expected to take years to accomplish, Diana took days. Every attack the Demon Lord threw at us ended with him becoming utterly defenseless, soldierless, and powerless. Despite him managing to escape each time, we dwindled his troops to a mere handful of imp demons. Soon, we had cornered him against a stretch of water called the Decaying Sea in his castle. Settle, Diana, and I stood upon a cliff top, staring down at the legions that had gathered below us as we mentally prepared ourselves for what would be the final battle.
To think, this will finally be over.
Once it is, you will become the new queen of this world.
I looked over to Diana, seeing a soft glimmer of fear in her face. Was she not prepared for that responsibility? I took her hand, causing her to look over at me in surprise. As I nodded, I let a grin paint over my face. You'll be an amazing queen. Diana looked to the crowd and stepped forward, slightly arching her back towards the legions below. She no longer was just Diana, but she had become the mighty queen of the rebellion, one that I had loved with all my heart.
Milites! Et hoc liberati esturei teramcun tuis omnibus conversiris. Sto vobiscum reducitic vos ad spem. Nocte, lavabimur arcem, hostium sanguine. Ele Dio dominati sun nostri. Nos destruet, ium mitere, profundissimum, inferni detractos.
Diana summoned her saber, letting it shine brilliantly as the purple taint took over her skin began to twist and turn. Before my eyes, the taint on her back took shape, lifting off of Diana's skin, and morphed into her beautiful demonic wings. I watched with pride as Diana's body lifted off of the ground and began to fly over the legions, slowly gliding towards the castle.
To war! To battle!
At that cry marked the dawn of change. The demon world would end the age of the demon lord's tyranny and begin the age of united peace and prosperity. With Diana soaring through the air bowed to her and proved her worthy of such power. As I stared, time around me slowed as I took everything that had happened. We were at the end of this war. Where would we truly go from there?
Who knew? Excuse me.
But I knew that I would be at Diana's side forevermore. I managed to seduce her into bringing me to a new world and experience everything. We were in love, and I was certain that she would become the beacon of life not only for me, but for every demon in this world. After all, she managed to seduce me, too. The demon war was only the beginning of our lives together.
Well, you did it! Congratulations! You've made it to the end of your story. I have to say, I am very surprised at how it turned out.
Oh, well, thank you, Kay. I thought we would at least see the demon lord defeated or something, but, oh well.
Nevertheless, I'm glad things worked out in the end, whether it was for the better or otherwise. I mean, come on. You got to be with a succubus and help her fight in a war. How crazy is that?
Very crazy.
You even got her to admit that she is in love with you. Go you! Demons are very hard to convince that you love them. Tell me about it, I know.
Oh, alright then.
Anyways, you've been through a lot, so why don't we skip to... Huh? You want to know what happened after the war? Well, I guess I could tell you. After the war was finished, the entire rebellion celebrated. Word spread far and wide about the rebellion's success, and soon every kingdom in the abyssal plains had become united with the new authority. You would think demons would be more hostile towards each other, being demons and all, but the threat of the Demon Lord was what brought the entire world together. The final battle between Diana and the Demon Lord became quickly one-sided, as he was no match for the power she had gathered from your love.
Aw, that's sweet.
Guess the power of love really does conquer all.
In this story, maybe, but I don't know about that truly.
Anyway, when the war ended, the entire rebellion celebrated as Diana presented his head to the masses like a trophy before burning it and letting the ashes sink into the ground.
I would have gladly loved to see that.
The day after, she became queen of the demon world. It definitely shocked her, and it took her a while to get used to being called Your Highness by the other demons, but you helped her through it. Sarah began to focus more on the military and only guarded Diana publicly. When they were out of the public eye, however, Sarah left her to you to care for. Diana always preferred your company regardless. You got her wrapped around your little finger, don't you?
Oh.
There's still the question of what you'll do now that the demon war is over. Diana is the queen and all, so she can't really leave.
Aw.
You'll figure it out, I'm sure.
Alright then. The demon world finally knew peace. It was a grand moment, the sounds of a million cheers echoing and burning themselves in my memory in celebration for the end of the war. Diana had finally destroyed the Demon Lord, and soon enough we would watch her become the matriarch of the Abyssal Plains, uniting the entire world under her rule. It was almost too unreal to experience and see, as a human. However, I was happy for Diana, and I was proud to stand beside her and support her through it all. The war was an experience and a half, and I would never forget it for as long as I lived. As for me, I found myself drawn to Diana, hoping to spend every night with her in her arms. The human world became a faintly drifting memory as my life embedded itself into the demon world. Many demons questioned me, but Sarah and Diana defended me with every conflict that came. However, there was never a day that went by that I didn't wonder, did I make the right choice? It was a heavy chapter of my life, one that tested the love between me and Diana. My heart seemed to remind me that I had come to the demon world to help Diana, and now it was time for her to honor her end of the deal. She had to teach me everything about the 5 worlds and about magic. As a queen, that wasn't possible now. To my surprise, I didn't seem to mind. I had been given the experience of a lifetime, and I easily accepted it as a promise fulfilled. The faint memory of my own power slightly tingled through me every time I grew confident, eagerly reminding me that I had strength of my own. I would never let anyone come between me and Diana ever again. The thought of it all echoed in my mind as I laid in bed, looking up at the ceiling with a wide smile on my face. Despite the dangers being real, the war was an adventure fun to look back upon in my memories. I took in a breath and let out a sigh, leaning back against the pillow beneath my head and closing my eyes. I was at peace and everything was all right.
Are you okay, dear?
Oh, hi, Zaire. Or Diana. I don't know. I don't even know at this point anymore what to call her. I opened my eyes at the sound of my pet name, looking up to see Diana smiling at me from her side of our bed. I could only giggle and cuddle close to her, feeling her wrap her arms around me. I was just thinking about us.
Were you now? What about us?
With a smile, I nuzzled Diana's chest softly and closed my eyes, listening to her steady and loving heartbeat. How thankful I am to be here with you. Diana stared down at me, gently hugging me to her. I could feel her own joy at the situation resonate from her embrace and her kiss over my head.
I am thankful that you're here too. You have done so much for me, and I will cherish you forevermore.
I couldn't help but look up at her beautiful ruby eyes, feeling her stroke my cheek lovingly.
I vow to make you happy, and protect you with my life.
And I you, Izair. The sound of her real name rolling off of my tongue made her giggle and nuzzle closer to me. I loved her real name, and I loved holding her against me.
I love you.
I believed every word. I let her words embed themselves into my heart, and I would remember them forever. As Diana hugged me to her warm body, we let a simultaneous sigh of contentment. I would love her and continue to hold her for the rest of my life. Nothing would be able to tear me away from her any longer. And that was my perfect happily ever after. And the right choice. Alright. Skipping all that. Whew. So that was the first true ending for Diana's route. In the next video, I will be doing the second true ending for Diana's route, and I'll show you the stuff that wasn't shown. So yeah. Trust me, you're gonna love the second ending. Even more than the first. Trust me, I did too. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of my videos, then click subscribe. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!